Well, hello everybody. Welcome to day 26, part 3. I'm going to put a link right here. Dr. Oz talking about more men dying than women. And of course, we've known this for a long time, and we have speculated why that would be a few times on this video. You've also heard me mention the reasons that they're just now citing. One of the things that I said, I don't remember which day it was, but I talked specifically about estrogen and testosterone. I also gave a warning to all of you men that are unwisely taking testosterone therapy. Many of you are taking testosterone therapy for all the wrong reasons. Let me remind you, if you're a man, if you want high testosterone, get lean. If you want high testosterone, make sure you're sleeping well enough. If you want high testosterone, make sure you're eating correctly. If you want high testosterone, make sure that you're exercising. If you are supplementing with a hormone without doing all of the things that we've talked about in these videos in order to be healthy, I assure you there are downstream consequences to supplementing with testosterone, men. And one of the things that we see in this virus is that women seem to be very protective because of estrogen. Once again, we talked about this in previous videos. I don't want to revisit that, but just recognize that this is just now coming online with Dr. Oz. However, I want to talk about something else that seems to be missed. I often take for granted that people know certain things, and then I realize that it's really not common knowledge. Many of you that have done the Ultimate Transformation Challenge with me have gone through the 13 different editions that I've written on the UTC manual, which at one point was over 300 pages. One of the things that we start off with is we talk about there's a male and a female body mass index, meaning I made my own body mass index, and I call them green bodies, yellow bodies, and red bodies. Obviously, the goal is to get into a green body, and yellow body means like warning, red body means that you're way too heavy. I even broke it down into ectomorphs, endomorphs, mesomorphs. I did this a long time ago because I recognize that there is a difference between male and female bodies, and there is a difference between each of those subtypes, right? So you have like the long, lanky people, and then you have people that just are larger boned people. So I wanted to accommodate those features. Guys, this does not, please hear me, please hear this, and watch how important this is. This does not happen at all in body mass index. Watch how important this is. This is absolutely critical for people to understand. This is another reason why more men are dying than women, and nobody's talking about it. Watch. If you look up body mass index, you will only see one chart. It doesn't accommodate for whether you're an ectomorph, mesomorph, or endomorph. It doesn't accommodate even if you're a male or a female. It's human beings, whether you're male or female, no matter what body type you are. Why does that matter? Watch. Go back to what I talked about the other day in London. These are just the stats. Over 2,000 people in the ICU. Hear me carefully, please. Of the people in the ICU, 0.7% have a body mass index less than 18.5. We'll talk about that in a second. Only 25.9% of the people have a body mass between 18.5 and 25. Okay? Now, obviously, you're going to see there's a big difference between an 18.5 and a 25, but it will be predictive that the higher you go up, so the closer you are to a 25, the more likely you are to be in the ICU. That's the trend, is the heavier you are, the more likely you are to be in the ICU. Please recognize that these are both men and women. It's the same body mass index for men and women. The heavier you get, so if you're between 25 and 30, that's 35.7% of the population. If you're between 30 and 40, that's 30.7% of the population. And if you're over 40, that's 7% of the population. That means that nearly 3/4 of the people in the ICU are overweight. And let me show you what that means. So you may say, well, that's not, what do you mean by overweight? Overweight for a male, for a female? Well, let's look at the numbers. The average woman is 5'4" tall. Okay, so a 25 body mass index is a 5'4" woman. A 5'4" woman would be 145 pounds. But watch this. That stat right there, between 25 and 30, 35. So between 25 and 30, that's 35.7 of the ICU, 35.7% of the ICU. That woman would be between 145 and 174 pounds. A male, that would be 174 to 209 pounds. That's between a 25 and a 30. What about between a 30 and a 40? Well, I can only find the chart that goes up to 35. But between a 30 and a 35, if you're a woman, that's between. So if you're a 5'4" woman, between a 30 and a 35 is between 174 and 204. That's between a 30 and 35. I don't even know what a 40 would be. So if you're a 5'4" woman, what we're talking about here between 25 and 35 is somebody between 145 pounds and 204 pounds. That's not most women, right? Most men, though, would fall in between that category. This is why men are dying more. Watch. 5'10" man, a 25 is 174. For sake of reference, I'm between 167 to 170 pounds at 5'10" exactly. I'm actually about 5'10" and a half. I also managed to carry some muscle mass on my body. So it's not impossible for people, and muscle weighs much more than fat, by the way. So it's not unheard of that people are 174 pounds at 5'10", even though in our country today, you may think, well, that's an impossible number to get to. But between 174 and 209, that's between a 25 and a 30. So if you're 5'10", now just recognize what a huge difference that is. If you're over 30, between a 30 and a 35, that's 209 to 243. Again, look at these. Let me pull you in so you can see these numbers carefully. Okay, so the body mass index right here, okay, these are the numbers that are coming out. If you're 25 to 30, that's 35.7% of the population in the ICU. 30 to 40, that's 30.7. Over 40, that's 7. That's 3/4 of the population. Now, why am I saying all of this? What are people missing? Men are bigger. They're bigger people. The virus carries a huge viral load. Okay, so if you are a larger person, men are larger than women, you are more likely to die. Nobody's talking about this. The virus carries a huge viral load. So on top of the fact that estrogen is protective, yes, but women tend to be smaller. And even though we're talking about body mass index does not differentiate between men and women. Men are larger. That's why you see more men dying. We carry more viral load. It is really important that we get smaller, everybody. We need to lose weight. We need the organs to be healthier. When we start putting on more weight than this, so if you're supposed to be 5'10", 174, which is a 25 body mass index, that's not skinny. That's actually pretty normal. Guys, if we go back to the 1950s and 60s and look at what the average person was weighing back then, please do it. Just go Google your research. I actually talk a lot about this in my UTC meetings. I'm not going to go into it now. Look at how much fatter we've gotten. Where does that fat go? It goes into organs, everybody. That's why organs get unhealthy, like we've been talking about. So we must get healthier, okay? Finally, let me address, and again, men, watch out, testosterone. If you're taking testosterone therapy and you're overweight, big mistake. The final thing I want to bring up, once again, is male versus female. I want to talk one more time about black versus, meaning the darker the skin to the lighter the skin. So anywhere you are along that range, so black to white, anywhere you are along that range, what is happening here? I want to reiterate, please, everybody, please take vitamin D3. The darker your skin, the more vitamin D3 you need. The heavier you are, so the bigger your body mass, the more vitamin D3 you need, especially if that's fat. So if you have a lot of fat on your body, remember D3 is a fat soluble vitamin. If you have issues digesting, okay, Remember, fat-soluble vitamins, we talked about how important digestion is in order to maximize the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. That's vitamins A, D, E, K1, and K2. The importance of vitamin D in mitigating the outcomes of this virus continue to abound. So please, if you have darker skin, make sure you're taking at least 5,000 IUs a day. I also made predictions about iron here, which if anybody hears this come online, please share the information with me. But I want to remind you, there's a sweet spot for iron. Why is iron so important? For hemoglobin. Okay, iron literally sits at the heart of hemoglobin. And obviously, what we're hearing about this virus, it has everything to do with the sounds of high altitude sickness. So as people are getting more and more and more and more sick, it's tantamount to putting them on the top of Mount Everest without giving them any time to acclimate. So meaning the body's having a much harder time with the blood oxygen saturation levels. Okay, implicated here is hemoglobin. Your body is trying to make more and more and more and more hemoglobin. We talked about why, how the virus proteins are attacking the hemes, attaching to the hemes on the hemoglobin, which frees up the iron ion in the body. And that iron ion acts as a free radical. This causes damage downstream to other organs, especially your liver, which raises ALT levels. Again, another reason why we need to have healthy organs. Everything's got to be healthy. Everything's got to be online. So I predict that women who are extremely low in iron or men who are very high in iron, I would suspect that the men who are very high in iron, and if you're a man, you're much more likely to have too much iron in your body. I will put in the description a PubMed article talking about this exactly, how women are more likely to be iron deficient, men are more likely to have too much iron in their blood. If you have too much iron in your blood, recognize that this problem becomes even more consequential, meaning that the free iron, the free iron radical becomes more consequential. Okay, so that free radical damage, if you have lots and lots of extra iron, is already a problem for your body and your liver. That's why people with high iron levels tend to have problematic livers. Imagine what this is doing when COVID-19 is attacking the body and you have all that extra iron. So I think it's probably even more consequential for men who have a high iron than women who have low iron, but I still believe that women who have low iron are going to be a problem because their body can't keep up with the hemoglobin production that it needs to try to survive longer. Now, who are the most likely people to have low iron? If you're a woman, it happens to be Black women. So now my prediction here is when we look across the board, 60% men are dying, 40% women. I predict, and hopefully you're beginning to understand why. It has something to do with estrogen and testosterone, and it has something to do with the mass of the body, the fact that men are larger. I also predict you're going to see things with iron. Men that happen to be extremely high in iron are going to be even more at risk. So high iron, high body mass index, and anybody that's mistakenly using testosterone supplements when they're in that situation, I would argue are particularly at risk. So just because your testosterone's low and you're a 55-year-old man and you have 50 pounds to lose and you still drink alcohol and don't adjust your lifestyle, you are making a terrible mistake. And that will continue to reveal its nasty head, I guarantee. But then if we look at women now, here's what I predict. I'm going to say it again. I predict that when you look at darker skin, just in general, you're going to see the people that are lowest in vitamin D3, as well as women who are low in iron, who are most likely going to be Black women, are the darker the skin, tend to be lower in iron. I predict that there's going to be a correlation there. So I think you might see that 60% men, 40% women on average. But I think that you may see in the black population closer to 50-50 men to women, and I think it's going to have something to do with low iron. Now, that's just a guess, but we'll see here, just putting it out there. But nevertheless, the science here of what I'm talking about in terms of the body mass index, estrogen, testosterone, and iron as it works in the body for hemoglobin, these all remain fact. The rest is speculation. But guys, when we look at who's dying, it remains the same. The bigger you are, the more likely you are to fall. And that's why men are dying more. This is not in the news as far as like when we're talking about, they just say obesity, right? But it's just being larger in general. This is why it's so important to lose weight. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. Please give me a thumbs up, please share. And if you have any comments or questions, please ask down below. Have a great day.